So, all right, everybody. So definitely welcome to this marketing for movers seminar. Um, it's a pleasure to have y'all here. Thank you, Greg, for joining us. Thank you, Brian, for joining us. And also thank you, Tyler, as well. I know there'll be a bunch of other guests coming in. So we're going to talk all things marketing for moving. Going into this off season, because basically we know that a lot of people had a slow season, and there's just things that you guys can be doing where you're not breaking the bank, but you're doing a little bit more than what you've been doing. And just to build some consistency, if you didn't have the season you wanted to have, unfortunately, you can't make up for it now, but you can prepare going forward. So, Greg, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I'm Greg Shepard. I'm the owner and founder of USA Home Listings. And with I don't know, I think we have about 460 clients now. And everything that I talk about or have done with the businesses, well, it's stuff that I did to produce business. And at the end of my career, I think I was doing about 300,000 a month, and I'm only seeing three people a day. I think everybody makes it more complicated, to be quite frank. But um, our system is a marketing tool that connects movers with the people that list their homes. But there's always a second part of this that no one ever talks about. I don't know why, but what they see when they get to the website, that's important. What's above the fold? What's the message there to say, oh, I got to talk to that person? And that's stuff that I actually harp on more than, unfortunately, my own business, you know, but it's something that it's important to talk about. So um, yeah, we're making a difference, and but it's not magic. There's two parts of the equation. Your online presence is just as important as sending a card out. The card's the introduction. What do you do with it when they get it? What do they go see? Um,
That makes
that's
sense.
it's my focus. We have an automated system. If you want to know I don't know what you want me to go on about, but I've been doing this since 1993. And there's times I hear people say, "Oh, that what's different up here?" I said, People are different up there in Massachusetts. They're different." No, they're not. Everybody's the same. They just want to be treated fairly. And they want to know that you're interested in them and not being interesting. And they want to know that you care. They don't care how much you know. And I think if people understood that, there'd be a lot less selling. And in fact, I want to create a book called Stop Selling and Start Helping. That would be, and the second one is stop closing, start asking questions. And I think
Nice.
that's the key. But you learn that after 30 years, right?
Have you started working on that yet? Or are you thinking
But
about it?
next year, it's coming because I have too many people that call me and say, "Wow, I've got so many nuggets." I said, "Well, when you do something for 30 years, you got to get at least a little bit better at it. If not, you're just a moron." But I put my first video on the web in 2001, and that was before YouTube, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And it took an hour. If you clicked on that video, it just would spin. Remember that spinning ball of death? Oh my gosh. It was so bad. Then I'll never forget, this elderly lady called. And I like what you had to say. I said, "You listened to it? You actually spent the time to wait for it?" "Yeah, and I like what you had to say, and I'd like you to come out." And it's such a positive thing. And I went crazy with video. So um, which is another point I could make. People should just, I can teach you in 1 minute how to do a video and you'll make more money. Just pull out your phone and get a good lapel mic. That's 150 from Amazon, and just go say, "Hi, I'm Greg and I'm with, my moving company. And if you choose to give us an opportunity, I'll make sure it goes well. It's my guarantee. It's my promise to you. Thank you." I did that, and people all responded. So, um, I'm sorry, but I'm still a salesman by trade, as you can tell. I have a technology, but the fact is our technology introduces you to someone, but you have to take over the rest from there, right? Brian, who's on this podcast, he gets people to the door. He can't make you answer the door. That's that's the client's job to do that.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
and that's hard, pick up your phone, just basic stuff. So I'm going to ramble on. I'll just stop now. Seriously, I'll talk you guys to death. So I apologize for taking up too much
No,
time.
you're fine.
Yeah.
Brian, what about yourself?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I can confirm Everything Greg said is true. We're both vets from been in the industry for decades. And we'll probably get a chance to talk about how perfectly um, what Greg does with postcards and now additional technology and with what we do work together. And it has since I was in the moving business in 2002. And what I'd say is Greg actually described what we do exactly right. We're digital domination experts, so we use we have our agency is Mover Search Marketing, right? And we do one thing and one thing only. We use our proprietary and proven processes to make moving companies' phones ring with qualified prospects. And we'll talk more about what that is. That Greg said it right. That's what we do. We get people to the door. If they don't come to the door, you're just presenting to a room with no people in it. And like Greg, I'm a veteran to moving, and actually from 2002 to 2013 started and grew San Diego's largest local moving company, and then sold it. And obviously I like this side of it way better, but there's a beautiful synergy between the two modalities that we use. They work together. They worked together back then, and they work together today, and they will in 15 years.
Okay, okay. So we'll get started with some questions, get you guys warmed up a little bit. So let's see what we got. Let's see. So we will start with Greg. Okay. So we also talk about this for those that haven't had a chance yet to get into the moving marketing blueprint. We definitely talk about this a lot more in depth, but basically just to hear it from the man himself. Greg, so what is the key to designing a postcard that grabs a potential customer's attention?
Okay, well, we have a 10-point, tell them to email me. I have a 10-point postcard. It's actually a science, believe it or not, to a point, to a point. One thing you'll find about me, I'm very, I'm just going to say the truth, and it comes out how it comes out. There'll be no fluff. If anybody says there's a perfect design, there's a science to it. Is it smart to have a testimonial and a QR code in your website and a call to action and a picture of success and maybe some coupon? 100%. 100%. Is it a perfect science? No. What's important is the branding looks the same as your website. But there's about 10 points in the card that anybody should hit. And that's not rocket science either. It's just there's a blueprint for it. That things you should put, let's put it this way, it's things you should put on there. It's not to tell an entire story. Either, by the way, we have letters as well that we send out. We're going to have handwritten cards in 2 weeks as well. We're actually in the final stages of that. But all of it is an introduction for people to go, huh? Like, for instance, a tagline. Most movers' tagline says the best company in Wisconsin or the #1 rated mover in Arizona. Anybody can say that. Why don't you say something like moving Arizona residents and treating you like family and putting a family photo of you and your wife on there and your kids? Right? And that's what I did. And people were like, oh, I kind of like that guy. Well, good, call that guy. I want the phone call. So the idea is to make it connect emotionally with someone so they go, oh, I kind of trust that person. Look what he said. Mine said, by the way, moving Metro Atlanta residents with guaranteed pricing and no surprises. Huh? You get that? And then we'll treat you like family. I have my family photo. And they're like, the calls I got were, hey, this Mr. Shepard? Yeah, well, this is Mr. Jones. And I got your card, your letter. You seem like a nice guy. You seem like a nice family man, someone I can trust. That's the way a call should come in, not try to sell you and slobber all over you. And so it's a better way. So marketing is about attraction. It's not about barfing out information. And be humble and helpful, right? And stop selling. I say it over and over. Stop closing for sure.
Yeah, you definitely don't need to have your #1 in the area, whatever the case is. Let your work show itself. Build that trust with the customer, build a rapport.
Well, they're going to go look at your reviews anyway. They're going to go look at your reviews. Am I right, Brian? They're going to go.
No, you're 100% right.
Right. Hold on, Mr. Know-it-all. Hold on one second, Mr. Card Guy. A second. And they go on their computer. Oh, okay. That kind of looks, that's what they're going to do. They're going to check you out. Back in 2000, actually in 93 when I got started, they didn't check you out. You got a card in the mail and they just called you. Those
Yeah.
days gone, long gone. I mean, even let's face it, beginning of the internet was really when I got in 93. Okay, 2000, you really didn't have to have a website. And okay, 2010, you have to have a website. It didn't have to be that good. Now they expect you to have it looking right, period, or you're just going to lose business. And so the card, remember, I'll say it over and over, the letter, the handwritten card, it's a connection to say, would you please look at me? Can I please, I'm raising my hand. Can I please have a shot at your move? That's all it is. That's all it is. Can I have a shot? And I'm trying a little harder than the other guy that just said I'm number one.
Gotcha. All right. So how often
Person.
should a moving company send out postcards to stay on the customer's radar without being annoying?
Okay. I'll answer this question the way I answer everybody. If a home was listed for 4.2 million around the corner, do you want to wait to get to them or you want to send it out now? I kind of laugh, right? Okay, okay, now when it goes under contract, how long do you want to wait? And I'll have people say, well, I should probably get to them right away. And I say, you think? So the answer is, of course. So at least new listing and under contract, because mailing is, by the way, here's another thing. I'm more transparent you'll ever get. It's coming out of me. Mailing is a numbers game, period. Brian, you'll back this up. SEO, it's a numbers game. Some will and some won't. So what next? Isn't that the old saying?
Absolutely.
And everybody, come on. I mean, that's just silly. I never cared about the 96% that didn't answer. I cared about the 4% that did.
Right.
And booked a lot of business doing it. It was the 4% that made me all the money, not the 96 of the 100 that didn't return my. Good. That's okay. I got four more. That's what it's about. Right. So does that answer? I forget what the original question was.
Yeah, no, that definitely does. So I know that before I was probably sending them out about 3 times a week or so like that. Would you think that's a good frequency, or you would say 5 days?
Every day, 7 days. If a home gets listed, it doesn't matter when it gets listed, get it out in the mail, unless you like to wait. So I'll ask you the question. Would you like to be first in the home or third? You'll say, all right, we have the first two people. I said, but if I come out, you're not invited because I might book the job, so you don't get a chance to come. So that's why you always want to be first in every opportunity. For anything you're doing in life, it doesn't matter, whatever you're buying. You want to be first, don't you? Do you want to be first in line or do you like to wait? I want to be first in line. Yeah, it's just same thing. Same
All
thing.
right. So we got Paul Gunham in the building. He's the guy who has helped with getting the social media stuff down pat. And Paul, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yep, thank you very much for the introduction.
Mhm.
I'm Paul, nice to meet you all. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Genie Studio. We're basically a growth firm, a growth consultant firm for moving companies specifically. So we only work exclusively with moving companies, and I'm very glad to be on the seminar here today. Thank you, Dwight, for inviting me on here today. So yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions and jump into discussions with you guys here today. And yeah, let's get right into it.
All right, all right. Now you can't be shy with these guys in the room. Um, so all right. So let's see what else we got for you. So are there any for you, Greg, are there any tips for choosing the best neighborhoods or areas to target with postcards?
Okay, here comes another broken record comment. You ready? Chase wealthy. Chase wealthy people. Just do it. And I'm not being mean. I never did apartments. There just wasn't enough money there. But this is a reality. And not everybody's just wealthy. I didn't mean that, but just chase the higher end. If you go after 1-bedroom apartments, that's what you're going to get. Now, there's a problem there. The job isn't much. You're not going to make much. If they have a claim, good luck. And then they bitch and complain, and they're going to be a little bit harder on the dollar that they give you because they don't have a lot of them. It's just a reality. My kids rented for years. Okay. But they didn't, when I rented, I didn't have any money. So I never thought it was a great lead. Nothing against it. It just doesn't make a company a lot of money. And it got to the point where my minimum, we had a minimum of $1,500, so we couldn't even book it. This is back in 2000.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
The owner I gave business to says, I don't want it. It's just a hassle. They fight over every little last claim. And agency says, but on the other extreme, let's go on the extreme. People have a lot of money, okay, and they're older and wealthier. They make decisions based on class of character of who you are. And secondly, they don't complain about little things that happen. It's just who they are. So I'm biased that way, big time. I rather hit like back in the day, I'll tell you exactly what I did. If somebody is $1 million plus home, you got hit 4 times. You got hit with a card and you got hit with a letter. Why? Because, and by the way, $1 million was actually a big home. We sound like, oh, it's no big deal. Well, back then it was a lot. Like that was a big home. You could play, baseball in the basements. Okay. I mean, it was right. And you go out there and you think those people are, oh, I'm worried about the $200 more you are. No, they're not. Because they climb into their Mercedes and go to a nice restaurant. It's okay. You're not hurting them. So from personal experience, I think everybody will verify this. Ask Brian, is it Tyler? Is it your name? Do you want to deal with clients that have money or people that are going, but don't have it, just don't have a lot of extra? They're just hard to work with.
Yeah, definitely are.
It's not mean, it's just the reality.
No, it makes sense. Don't now what is your take on direct door marketing, where with the post office you could send to a region with postcards or whatever the case is, like you could just target a whole city or region. Is that a waste or do you feel like
What do you think? I'm gonna say that one. Go take a billboard if you're gonna do that. Same thing. Because you're how many people out of an area move? 5% now, maybe it's even lower. Maybe it's 4. I don't even know what the numbers are. We'd probably go look that up. Back in the day, it used to be like 7% of the population moving around.
Right.
Maybe it's 4, whatever. But I'm not going to hit 95 homes that aren't moving. That's insanity. You will go broke, guaranteed. But the thing is, the only thing you can do is do those stuffed mailers. What are those coupon things called, guys? The money mailers is what they're called, right?
Like a Groupon, you mean?
Yeah, like they come in the mail, but you open them up.
Oh, yeah, that everyone throws out.
Yes, because that's splatter market, but it's cheap. But it better be cheap because it'd be like if I owned a window blinds business. I'm not gonna go to renters ever because they can't pay for it. And if they're pretty expensive, I'm not gonna go to low-income areas because, well, the reality is they're probably not going to spend that money. It's not that important. That would be more focus on the higher end again. I mean, it just seems like every service that you do to a homeowner, I just think the higher end is better, but hyper focus on it if you can.
yeah.
Some people don't have that luxury, by the way. They just live in an area that just not that much. If you live in Alaska, there's not a lot going on. Right.
Dwight,
North Dakota.
Add something to that I think might be helpful for the listeners. If you want.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. First of all, I 100% agree with everything Greg says. 100%. Not just from when I was a mover, but from an understanding today how it works. And one of the things that is the listeners we're all movers. That's different in moving than most home industries like plumbing and things like that is there's a journey people take when they move, right? It starts way before they list their house. They look for where they're going to move. They search safest neighborhoods, cost of living, tons of things. And I can tell you, we have specifically over 90 different topics because of what we do that are on our client's website. So what we know is that, and this will fit perfectly with what Greg says, is way before they list the home, right? When they list their home, they're clearly the closest. You're now in the commercial intent. I've listed my home. If I don't have a mover or thinking about a mover, I better be choosing one, right? And then even worse, or even more important when it goes into escrow. But what happens is we from the SEO standpoint, we're capturing people at the very start of their journey and all the way to the end. And we know that. So for example, if someone, types Tampa movers, our client 2 college comes up in the map pack, they come up on the SERP, and they're probably getting a postcard because their home's for sale, right? So what I want to say in most simplistic terms, and the reason I love our clients to also do postcards, I think they're the number one thing, non-digital thing that they can do is, I'll give you a great example. We can talk more about it. A lot of times you'll have, for example, let's just pick Wade's website because his numbers are in my mind. In the last 2 years, he's had 500,000 visitors to his website. I just want you to think about that. So we're talking about all the way through the topics and the journey. These are all people moving to, from, within the Tampa metro, right? 500,000 people. To Greg's point, they didn't all convert. He didn't do 500,000 moves.
No.
Sometimes they read about what it's like to live in, I don't know, St. Petersburg or something. Now they've visited the website, and many of those people do book because they're in the journey. Some don't yet. But I can tell you what else happens, and we have the data to prove this. We watch the term 2 college brothers growing over time, which means their brand is getting recognized just like McDonald's or Pepsi. They're being seen everywhere. Well, what do you think happens when they get that postcard, right? They're going to get a postcard. They're going to get a postcard along with, and Greg, I don't know the number, how many other postcards they might get from different moving
Depends
companies.
on the area. I don't know. We
Yeah,
don't
it
control
depends on the area, but if they recognize, oh, I've been to that client's or that company's website, this is a real thing that can happen. They're like, I've heard these guys, oh, I read on their website. So this is I'm just going to encourage anyone who's listening, you should be doing both. You do SEO, build that brand, and first of all, just with SEO on its own, or just with postcards on their own, you're going to get moves. But when you do those things together, to me, I'm convinced they're the most synergistic thing, because if we, once again, by the time the postcard gets to someone, some of them have booked. And like Greg said, I don't know what the conversion rate is, 5%, but there's a conversion rate. And also I'm going to confirm something else he said from the standpoint of how do you target the richest areas? Because we all want those. We want these big 2-day full pack out with storage, $15,000 local moves that we dream about, right? Versus $2,500 moves. Well, with SEO, we have different topics like richest neighborhoods in Atlanta and stuff. That tends to help. But on the digital side, where you can focus it, just like Greg can focus, he can see what the incomes are. We do that with pay-per-click. So these things can really work together, and the smart movers work with, what I'll end up saying is, work with a professional. Work with someone who knows what they're doing. They have the data, they're a veteran, and they have their experience. And once again, I'm not here just to sell USA Home Listings, but I got to say, they got,
I appreciate it. I'm not paying you anything. Just so you know, I'm not paying Brian anything for this.
No, and vice versa.
Make it
But-
clear. I haven't paid him $1. So,
But
thank
the
you.
data supports
Thank
that these things actually, they enhance each other.
Yeah.
They do. And I also will say something else. I love what you said about people love to buy, but they don't like to be sold to.
No,
And I mean, think about yourself. You've gone somewhere and someone's like, can I help you? And you're like, I'm just looking. Well, you came there to buy something. You just didn't want to be sold.
Mhm.
And I think that,
well, that goes in with, if somebody calls your business,
yeah,
they've already called you. So they've already checked you out, which is cha-ching. You should put a big check and say, thank you. You already checked me out. Or
100%.
and they said, oh, you got a 0 rate, 1.2 star. They didn't call you. You didn't hear from them.
Yeah, and frankly, we were in San Diego when we had our company, we were the highest rated local mover in San Diego by 15%. By 15%. Yet we were the largest. And what we used to do when people would call us and they would, our move coordinators, they would always say, we need to match that guy's price. And the response we would always have would be,
Nobody does price.
to someone, I know you'll love this, Greg, but this worked.
Nobody in the world buys on price.
Like, let me ask you a question. We're the highest rated local mover per hour, hourly rated. In California, we were hourly rated. And we would say, yet we're the largest. Why do you think that is? And then they would always say something like lowest claims rate, best movers. And no matter what they said, we would say, you're right. And the reason we said that is that's what in their mind was important. So
Right.
There's a rapport amount, and also I love what you said too, Greg. We bring the people to the door, but we're not in operations. We don't teach our clients how to sell or close them. So anyway, I hope that's helpful that these two modalities work together for the reasons I've mentioned, which is they've hopefully already been to the website of the postcard that they get from USA Home Listings if they're a similar client, right?
Yeah.
And that's even going to enhance their, I'm calling this company, I recognize them.
Yep. Well, it goes along with Tyler's social media too. You gotta
Same thing, building the brand.
be
Yeah,
social nowadays. If
build the brand.
you're just crazy. It's the first person I hired was Carly, who was with Fidelity doing their marketing, and
Yeah, I remember. Is Carly still with you? I know Carly.
yeah, she is my drum man. She does everything.
Yeah.
She's my superwoman, for Carly, if you're hearing this someday in the future, you can thank me. But I never realized how important social media was. And man, it's just like, it's so critical to have your name out all the time. And it shows you're active. In the moving business, I think it just gives you more referrals. Because when you ask people to sign up and become a subscriber, they'll see they're not moving again for another 7, 8, 10 years, but you're in front of them every so often. Somebody says, "Oh, I've got to move." What'd you say? Well, I saw this person 37 times the last month. Wait a minute, I got something for you. It's my mover. That's why Coke. Why does Coke spend $1 zillion a year advertising? Does anybody not know what a Coke is? Does anybody not know what Coca-Cola is? Do you ever wonder if they would just stop? They become irrelevant, and somebody would come by. Exactly. So they continue to do it. It's almost crazy in a way,
Now, do you think they've not built a big enough status where if they just fell off on their paid marketing, that they wouldn't still have a presence, a brand?
Is that to Brian or me?
Oh, anybody.
You're talking about Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
It's near impossible, I would say. They're partnered with over 30 million restaurants around the world. And if you think about it, if you just pop into one restaurant and you see Coca-Cola, that's another person that's, recognizes the brand. And they not only partner up with restaurants to put their drinks there, but they're also pushing out marketing on digital platforms as well. So social media, Google, sometimes even billboards, if you've noticed them, they're everywhere.
It's just I guess
yeah.
I was bringing it back to thinking about Uber, how Uber right now, I don't really see too much marketing on them, but their name is always going to be out there because what is people using for transportation services nowadays besides Lyft or Uber?
Yeah, it could be interesting. It could be like Facebook. You don't really need Facebook to tell you I'm Facebook anymore. Very interesting, right? Who they are. Uber and Lyft, those are the two that go after it. I think Uber has this little better name just because they've got there first, and sometimes on that, and they got billions of dollars behind them.
If you think about it, Dwight, right? One of the things that happens with what Greg does and we do, and I don't know Paul as well, but it sounds like he's really good at what he does, is that with SEO, when people come to our client's website, it's because they search something. They're looking for something, and we were able to get our client to have the best answer, so we're at the top of the SERP, right? So rather than just having a billboard on the highway where only 2% of the people could even fit in, hey, personal injury. Well, what percent of people literally were injured that are ready to call, right? It's very small.
Right, yeah.
What's happened with digital marketing and also what Greg's done beautifully with his company, right? So it's timing. You asked a great question. Should you just blanket the neighborhood? You could, but why? Isn't it better? I know the person's moving. In our case, we don't know the person's moving, but if they search a certain term, they're thinking of moving, decided to move, or are ready to choose a mover. So it's a timing thing. And with digital marketing, you're able to do that. And of course, with social media, you're able to make audiences and things like that. And within those things, instead of speaking to I think of it like this: if you're at a BNI event or something and you overheard someone said, hey, what's the richest neighborhood in Atlanta? If Eric Works was at that meeting, he would run up and say, oh, you must be thinking of moving. Here's my card, right? That's That's a person that's thinking of moving. If you search terms like that, our clients show up for. So you don't have to be giving them the business card. And then what's so beautiful about what USA Home Listings does is they listed their home. We know, they're moving. So these are, once again, I would just encourage anyone who's listening, you better be thinking about all three of these silos on your marketing, because they work in conjunction, they build the brand. And the more someone sees it, like Paul, you said, I go in and I see Pepsi, right? There's a value to that brand. And all of us ultimately are building the brand of our clients, which also gives them, it's like working out with weights. You just get stronger and stronger and you become dominant. You just do.
Yep.
100% agreed on that one. You were touching a little bit on people recognizing the brand as well. Like, I really do agree with that. It's just brand familiarity. So the more that people have seen your brand before, or even if they just know a little bit about it, that helps when comparing to other brands that they have no clue about.
Exactly.
Yeah, completely agree with that one.
All right. So now, Brian, you've been going on, but we didn't even get to you yet. Let's see what we got for you, Brian. So, what are some quick SEO changes moving companies can make to improve their online visibility?
The number one thing a mover could do, get more reviews, get high quality reviews. Like literally if someone's working with us, we take, and we can dig into sort of some more of that, but we're the one bringing them to the door. We know the topics to write. We talk to them about their services. And in a minute, I'm going to just come back to diversification and then I'll stop and you can ask more if you want.
Mm-hmm.
The number one absolute thing a mover can do is get reviews. And there's a huge reason for that in the Google sphere. It's a trust factor. And then to also Greg's point, when someone goes and looks, which about 80% of people do, they're going to look at their listing. They're going to check them out. Right? But it's the strongest signal that Google has that we're not doing on the SEO side. So if you're getting reviews, right, and you want, and if you want, I don't want to take too much time, but there are specific things that you want to try and get your team to get in the reviews. You can use QR codes, NFC cards. That to me is the number one thing they can do. Other than that, if they're doing their own SEO, that's like doing your own postcards. Is that really what you want to do? And then the second thing we can come back to if you want is you had mentioned about the season. The other thing that happens when you do SEO properly is you get leads off of not just residential. We have 26 different services that we help our clients rank for, from international to office to commercial, specialized, right? That enhance and strengthen so that when you get that dip in winter, you're still strong. I'm talking about contracts, big ones. So, but that's, you asked what the mover can do, and I would say reviews is the number one thing.
Okay. All right.
And I'll go along with that. What do we all do as humans before you buy something?
Research.
Yeah, you go check the reviews.
Check it out.
And one guy's got 1,280 and he's got a 4.9. The other guy's got 5. Well, I like the 5. We have been around long enough, Bubba, so I'm not so sure I'm going with 5. I think you're probably a good start.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that's 1,200 is going to win because he's going to win. I think we all do that.
Everyone.
You go to Amazon. What do? I've debated over $1.50. I'm like, what am I doing? I spent 10 minutes on $1.50 of this stupid little thing for $12. It was $13.50, but we all do that just because we want the best deal.
Now, do you think reviews, like, obviously I know in some cases reviews doesn't apply to all industries and all companies in the sense. And the reason why I say that is because like what are they called? Claim company that have bad reviews. It's based on the customer per se that they're settling with versus the people that's most likely using.
Well, you're just getting compared to the other movers, right? So everyone is in the same boat. And to Greg's point, like You might check out 1, 2, or 3. Like we have all this data we look at, and there's no exact amount you need. You know, is 30 enough? Is 400 enough?
As many.
You know, it's hard to say. It's just that it's better if you have more. It's better if you have a higher rating. And I'm going to tell you that when we get people in the map pack, which we do all the time, there's 3 elements to getting people to rank. And one of them, is prominence, which has to do with reviews. The rest of it we control. So that would be the number one thing I would do. And then if you want later, if we have time, I can give some tips on what to get in the review, because not all reviews are equal. They have different weight in Google's eyes.
Okay. Well, you already answered the question about so the whole thing about people still calling you saying, hey, we can get you on the first page of Google thing. What is your take on that? So the whole thing about people talking about they can get you on the first page of Google thing. What is your take on that, on the first page of Google?
You cut out. I'm sorry, Dwight. I don't know if you were asking me or Greg or
Yeah,
Paul.
I was asking you, Brandon.
Asking me?
You're going out, but he's saying, what do you say to people that say, I can get you on the first page of Google? That's pretty big. That's laughable.
I mean, yeah, for $150. I mean, I'm not even going to answer that. Like we have an entire team all day, every day. I would say that what we do is simple, but it ain't easy. And we just when we work with someone, we right away make sure that they have the right mindset. If someone's going to be attracted to shiny objects or black hat stuff, you're going to get effed. And Google's algorithms right now, I mean, you guys probably hear about it if you're on Facebook groups and stuff. Listings are being suspended left and right. Reviews are being taken down. Google's has an entire ever-growing, better network of algorithms to verify things. And it is going to get better and better. And there's a reason for it. Because if the search engine gets crappy, I just give you an example. Example. You'll hear a lot, just open up a bunch of listings and dominate like the big boys or things like that. Really? Do you really think if you were in front of a Google court and they go, why do you have 12 listings and you're in, Austin, Texas? And the minute they heard that, they were like, you're suspended and you're now never going to be able to make another listing. They would never pass muster. So you have to do things in a way, right? Like just people sometimes don't think, right? It's kind of, I don't know. There's probably a word that I'm trying to come up with, Greg, but just
wait, I got it. Remember when he asked the question, if somebody says, can I be on the first page of Google? And I said, yeah, you can. But
work with us.
Based on a term that people are actually looking for. So elephant hunting near a mover in Montana, you'll be number 1. And it not do you any good, man.
And
I think it's almost laughable.
Yeah, let me go back though and really just answer it in a non sort of sarcastic or funny way.
Yeah.
There is a way to do this, and everyone knows that it takes time. And if you want, it essentially has to do with 2 things: topical authority and what's called EAT. So if your listeners have heard of either of those, we can dig in a little more, but that's what we do and we're experts at it. Meaning, if you think about someone, let's say they're in San Antonio, ultimately what you want for that website to be is the Wikipedia of everything related to moving to, from, about moving in San Antonio. Because if you think about it, that's what an authority is. An authority, which is one of the 4 things Google looks for and rewards, has all the answers, right? An authority has all the answers. If over time you have all the answers, meaning for all these thousands of keywords, you're on the first page, Google will continue to give you love and traffic. Okay, now how that gets done, we have an entire team working on it all the time, and it's not easy, but that's essentially what you have to do. If you don't do that, you will never make it. Your site will never make it.
Okay. And let's see. So when should a moving company start thinking about SEO, before they launch their website or after?
Well, I'll do a quick answer in that. Like for us to bring on a client, we're more enterprise level. So most of our clients are staff. SEO is an investment. it's to someone who's small, it's going to seem expensive. To someone who's million plus at a minimum, it's just a part of their marketing budget. So if you're below $1 million to 2 million, being serious, the SEO you're going to get, it's just not going to do what you want. I'd rather see you do work with USA Home Listings right away, because you're going to get leads right away, and do pay-per-click. So with pay-per-click, we can get you leads right away, and you can have the gas pedal and the brake with budget. So I think, Dwight, it really depends on sort of what area they're in and their revenue, because with SEO, you're making an investment that takes time to pay off. You do postcards, the day they go out, you're going to get leads. You do pay-per-click, the day you do it, you're going to get leads. I hope that's helpful.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I know one of the talking with Travis from Rotate, I know he was mentioning, at least getting about a couple, like 10 to 20 reviews before, maybe considering doing SEO in that particular market.
What's that?
Oh, did everybody else hear me, or was I chopping in?
It's kind of went in and out, but it's okay.
Oh no, I was saying that I know that Travis from Rotate was mentioning getting at least 10 to 20 reviews prior to probably doing SEO or so like that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not the only people who do what we do. My understanding is he tends to focus more on just the local side. We have the full menu. If you really want to dominate here and you're relying just on listings, that's like a table with one leg. When that falls or you get suspended, you're screwed. So just as a quick example, in our research, this is something where, I'll be speaking at the Titan retreat, so I'm trying to get a lot of data together. But so if I take a mature client that has really strong local listings in the map pack and a really strong website, and we have tools, these proprietary tools, we can dig down and look at what's called queries, not just keywords, but how people search. Some client might have about 1,500 different terms that bring up a map pack. Guess how many terms the website shows up for? I know you're not going to be able to guess, but I'm going to let you know. It's over 200,000. So what I'm trying to say is that I don't subscribe just to you need a certain number of reviews. That's just on the local search side and has to do with your listings, right? You want to have a balance. So you want, if for example, people who work with us, we do both the local search side and the website, and you ultimately need both. Google is moving to where if you're strong on one and weak on the other, you're going to falter. This is not what they want. And just the last thing I'll say is, think about Google. How much do you pay every time you search? How much money do you put in the search engine? How much do you pay to get your Gmail? Zero. Do you know where 96% of Google's revenue comes from? Ads. So they're very protective of that search engine. If that starts to be not trusted, or people are trying to game it with AI or making like tons of fake listings, that messes the whole thing up. You think they're going to allow that in the long run? There's no way. So, these are just some truth bombs. Just, I'm trying to, Greg talked about, some things like use your head, sometimes common sense. And that would be some of my common sense. Just think about it, right? Do things right, do them over time, you will get rewarded.
Definitely. Okay, Paul, so we are on to you. What are the best social media platforms for moving companies to reach their targeted audience?
Sure, 100%. Now, with social media platforms, what I usually try to look at is the big three. So we got Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Why I say this is because these three social media platforms, they have the highest amount of users. Even though TikTok's pretty new, they've already racked up more than 1 billion users that are active on the platform. Now, if you think about it, 1 billion users, that's a pretty wide range of, audience. You've got people from every single age group on the app, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there might be less of, the working class or above when it comes to TikTok, and might be a little bit more on Facebook, but still. Now, answering your question, for moving companies, I have seen people or just collecting data. I've seen people run ads on TikTok as well as Facebook comparing which one is better. Now, I would have to say and make it clear first that it depends on the location. Entirely depends on the location. Some in some areas of the world, different age groups use different social media platforms. So, in order to find out which works best in your area, definitely play with the water, test the market, and see which one brings better results. Now, you don't have to go all out and spend $5,000 on each platform because, that's kind of going over the top. When it comes to social media, you can start really small. If you're doing content, you can make content by yourself. There are a lot of applications out there that help you edit videos as well. One very famous one right now is called CapCut. If you guys want to edit your own videos, I would recommend that app. You can post them on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And if you're planning to do ads, you can start small. You can put in a budget of, let's say, $500 per platform, right?
Okay.
And with that amount of budget that you're putting in on ads, let's say on Facebook and TikTok, you'll be able to know and actually test the market and see, okay, I'm getting a little bit more cheaper cost per lead on Facebook. However, the people that are coming through TikTok, they actually have a higher order value. So those are things you actually have to consider as well when you're running ads and, actually looking into which platform is better. It's not just about cost per lead and cost per mil, they say, but also what is the actual cost per job? What is the conversion rate looking like? What is the amount that particular lead from the platform is spending with you?
And that leads me into that next question. Because I'm a kind of like a numbers person in a sense when it comes to like ROI. And what I guess what is the typical ROI when it comes to like social media, or what should you be looking out for when it comes to, not throwing all your money into a black hole and hoping that you get results?
Yep. So on a minimum, if you're running social media ads, what I would say is a 1-to-4 ratio. So let's say you're putting $1,000 in ads, then you should be getting a minimum of $4,000 back in terms of revenue.
Okay.
That's what I would say on a minimum. Now, if you have like super good ads, the creatives are just performing like crazy, all your cost per leads are really low, people are booking with you, your sales team is awesome, you can expect the ROI to be a lot higher, sometimes even double of what I said just now.
Okay. Brian, it seems like you're thinking right there. What are you thinking?
No, I think I'm very interested because Paul is definitely an expert, and I think like on the pay-per-click side, we see about a minimum of around a 600% ROI. Now, I think we're using the right words, and by the way, that doesn't necessarily mean you wouldn't do all of them. If there's, this goes back to if you are a mover and you have capacity, right? If you're overbooked in summer, why would you do more pay-per-click? Or, you're booked. But as long as you have capacity and there is ROI, why wouldn't you do all of the different marketing, right? Because you're making money. So it's just a thought as an owner, right? Like you're going to go to the silo that gets you the highest ROI and work your way down, assuming you have capacity. And yeah.
Okay.
That's all. I was agreeing with Paul, and I was, he's clearly an expert, so I'm learning as he's speaking.
Oh, no, that makes sense. All right, Paul. So how can a movie company consistently come up with engaging content for social media?
All right, for engaging content, so I'm assuming a more organic way of content that we're talking about here. So more so for organic, a lot of people tend to face this like mind block when it comes to content or content ideas. They can't really think of what to put out. In my opinion, there's quite a lot of things you can post about. And especially as a moving company, although it might not seem as interesting when it comes from a mover perspective, you're just thinking like, oh, we're just picking up boxes, filling it up in our trucks. How is that interesting? Right? But to the eyes of the people that have never seen a truck before, so people that have never seen people like actually filling up trucks with boxes, furnitures, and all of that before, that gives them an idea of what they're getting themselves into. Let's say maybe they're even looking for a moving company to hire, but they have no idea how the procedure looks like. You can make a content on a lot of stuff. It's just popping up in my head now.
No, you're fine.
But so, for example, there are moving companies that put out, free checklists of when you're planning to move 1 month ahead of something like that. You can turn everything on that checklist into content. Yeah.
Makes sense.
So this is what you do 1 month before. This is what you do 15 days before you move. How do you prepare your, all your kitchen items? How do you prepare your bed furniture? All of that stuff. Even though like sometimes they might not be doing it themselves, but if they see that, they know that, okay, they would probably do that for you. Now that depends on what you say on the content as well. If you're like, hey, we'll get all of this done for you during the service, and we charge everything on an hourly rate that covers all of the costs, you might even get them sold on the content that you're putting out.
Yeah.
I have
Makes
a question for Paul, if it's okay. This is
Go ahead.
and even like Greg. So it's an interesting thing. I'll just give you an example. On our clients' websites, we always have a download list, right? So if you're on their website, you'll see, hey, click here and download a free moving checklist. As opposed to trying to rank for moving checklists, it doesn't make any sense. We need the people to be in the client's area, right?
Mhm.
So they can download it. On that checklist, there's a phone number and a URL that we can track. And so I just looked, for example, I'm just going to use Wade's website. So year to date, there's been 560 times it was downloaded. Okay. Now, I never thought about how do you connect that to like what Paul's doing, or I don't know if that's the kind of thing you add to a postcard, but people download the dang checklist and then we have proof later because it has its own tracking number. They call. It blows me away. They'll download the checklist, print it out somewhere, and then when they get ready to move, they call it. But I like the idea, Paul, like how do you integrate it all throughout a client's marketing funnel or whatever you would call it? Just yeah.
It helps.
So, well, I was gonna say, so I know a lot of movers post just like trucks and their guys loading and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that becomes very, and and I don't know if it's necessarily considered selling, but it's one of those things where it's just like when you just constantly just see the same images, same motions, stuff like that. Is it good? I guess is it good marketing? I guess anybody can answer this question if you want.
I couldn't really hear the question. Maybe Greg did.
Yeah, sorry,
No,
was that for me or?
Mac, Dwight, I'm sorry, you're going in and out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me better now?
Can I ask
Yeah.
Greg a question? Is that okay,
Yeah.
Dwight?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Because we haven't had a chance to talk in a while, but what do I know you're now offering other services and they're amazing. I'm a huge fan. Like you've just been.
And this is not, I did not pay for this, I promise. I promise. Brian will verify that.
No, but I like besides the copy that's on the postcard.
Yeah.
And now I'm guessing they all have QR codes.
Most people, for sure.
Standard tracking numbers. Do you have a feel for any specific, and you did also talk about, and I love that, for the tagline or whatever should be more about the client and less about the mover, right? It's about like what I'm moving and I have concerns. Anything else like that you found that goes on a postcard that you feel seems to capture more conversion rate.
100%. I did it. So I know I put my face on it and I put my face and my family on it. And this is
Ah,
the website. So it said moving back to
interesting.
Atlanta residents guaranteed pricing will treat you like family. And there was my actual family. So what happens when someone gets this card and it says there'll be no issues on move day? They get there, no issues. Who is that guy? Now they did the math. This is where it's all emotional. Marketing is emotional to me. It's not even, you can be a lousier company, have better marketing, you're going to do better. That's
Yep,
a
yep.
fact. So
Yeah.
I said, I know after 30,000 conversations why people buy. They buy from who they like and they trust. So work it backwards. What can we do to get them to like and trust us? Well, here's a picture of me and, well, I got my family out here. There they are in the background. That's my son's wedding. Can't see that? Okay, forget it. But the point was, they know the lady in the blue dress is not on the trucks. That looks like his pretty wife. And those two kids at the end, they look like they're his kids. So they trusted the guy in the middle because I'm a family guy. Ta-da! That's why I won. So
Mm,
to me, so I would put that on the card, and I put it in a letter, and then the calls start coming in. Now here's the thing: I'm gonna have a new title. It's gonna be called "Never Follow Up." Huh? Just a joke. Do your presentation better instead. I don't ever mean never follow up.
mm.
But when I'm booking 13 out of 15 homes, I didn't have to spend all my time begging for people for business. I did my job when I was with them. I
Got it.
really do that. And then think about this. Let's go back just one more. I love talking about this stuff, but may segue here for a minute. But most marketing is about talking about yourself. Now, in SEO, I get it. In social, you got to talk about yourself, or why would they even listen? Okay. But an actual sale is made because people think that you're on their side, not that you're on their side making a commission. When I switched my entire brain, I think it's about 2012, to be a customer service oriented person, the bookings went through the roof. And I'm like, well, this is fun. And I was having fun. And I was high-fiving people in and out of the home. I wish somebody would have taught me that back in 1993. And they said, come here, lesson 1, stop selling. Now go home. I'll give you lesson 2 tomorrow. Come here, lesson 2, act like you care. Now go home, come back, lesson 3. Which is what I think moving is about, because I think it's got a emotional side, because I think a lot of people think that movers are either crazy or they're going to wreck all their stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not fair, but it is what it is. So I didn't fight it. So I want to be the guy that go, well, I kind of liked and trust that guy. So when the call came in, it's like, oh, you're Greg, you're this guy that I think, boy, I think I like what you had to say. You seem like a person I can trust. You seem like someone that's a good family man, blah, blah. So for the first minute, they tell me all that. I'm like, well, this is a done deal. He told me he's going with me. He just never said it. In fact, the greatest compliment is, oh, by the way, I'm getting 2 other quotes. Oh, okay, nice. I want to say, ready? Nice save, nice try. But oh, you should get 2 quotes. What they're saying is, oh, I gave myself away. I told them how much I like the company. Yeah. Why are we always trying to sell and push our stuff? Just be the company that says, I'll be there for you. Here, everyone in one-liner. I don't know who's listening to this, but here's the one-liner I learned. I wish I'd done this. And again, way back before moving. It's very manipulative to say to somebody, what can I do to earn your business? Never say that again. Whoever's listening, I don't care who they are, just never say that. It's a very manipulative and a very self-centered comment. What you said to them was, hey, give me something, so you just have to buy from me. I started saying, folks, in a perfect world, in a perfect move, what could we do to just make it like, oh my God, chocolates and flowers coming out of the sky? That just went so perfect. What could we do? Is there anything we could do to make that happen? And they would tell you. And then usually it's something simple, like when you pack just the kitchen, that's something basic stuff, right? Well, we can do that. Well, they committed mentally because you asked, and then because you asked the question. But more importantly, I started hearing people say, you know, by the way, later on, you're the only person that ever asked me what you can do to earn my business in the right way. And they didn't say it like that. They said, you're the only one that asked me the question, you know, how do I serve you the best way? And I think a lot of marketing is always naturally self-centered. It's just the way we're built, because we want to tell everybody about stuff. So I started inviting them backwards into the story. And it just worked.
Gotcha.
So I don't know where I came back. I don't even know where I started with this whole thing. I really don't know where it began. So
All right, Paul. So we got one more question for you, Paul. Can you
Sure.
share a tip on how movers can use social media to build trust with their customers?
Sure. Um, I actually wanted to like thank Greg for that response, by the way, because that was really good. And I would like to say that the concept that he was talking about when it comes to the postcards themselves, they also apply to social media,
of course,
not just with content, but also with the ads that you're putting out on social media platforms. Now, why do I say this? It's the same exact concept. It's like that feeling when you get a postcard at your house out of nowhere, right? You're getting a little post up on your feed out of nowhere. And how do you make it so that you stand out, right? People, same thing like what Greg said, people don't really like it when you're just talking about yourself, your own company. What is what is there for them to care about when it comes to, you just talking about your own yourself and your company?
Okay.
testimonial.
Now,
Just get testimonials. I used to go out and get testimonials, and then I got their real faces. I have an email it's actually kind of funny because I wrote it, and it said after they gave me a good survey, which was actually a testimonial, but I disguised as a survey. Said, thank you for your survey, for your testimonial or review. Now use the word review. Don't use a testimonial. That sounds like testimonial sounds like you're begging. But say, thanks for your review. By the way, would you send a beautiful picture of yourself or a family member of a dog or something that represents a real you? Because we heard marketing where a face next to the words makes a difference. The only problem is you're going to be Googled under rock star super cool people in Austin. We don't know if you need that kind of attention. Either way, you're a rock star with us. And I did this and email people go, that's funny. Yeah, I'll give you my picture. So they would send me their pictures. Then I put them on the homepage with their words. And it said recent reviews. Could have been 10 years old. It's still recent. God formed the earth a zillion years ago. I figure it's recent if it's only 3 years old, right? Depends on what you want to call it. But I never dated it. And then people started to scroll. And then you take your two top customers and you go film them. I'm talking with a lapel mic and a nice camera, get it all set up. Give them $100 gift certificate to anywhere they want to go in the city for dinner or whatever. I guess it's probably 200 now because things are a little different, right? Literally, I paid him $100. Oh, you don't have to do that, Greg. I said, no, you're a good customer. Would you mind saying a few things? And then I used the testimonial as fodder for the for Paul for the social media. So if you go to our site, you'll see all the testimonials. I didn't make those up. I didn't make any of them. Most they're right out of the cuff. These guys saying those things. Well, I flew around the country. Why? Because it's proof. Now, if I'm saying it, I'm selling. But if they said it, it's the truth because they're the mover company. Hey, I kind of like you, Greg. You seem like you're kind of a slick salesperson. I don't know, man. I said, well, just listen to him then. So proof is how they say it. If you say it, you're selling. If they say it, it's proof. Or if they say it, meaning your customers, it's the truth. And it just works. Then by the way, here's one more. I had a realtor that gave me a lot of business. She never gave me less, I swear, than a $2 million home. Every home I went into was just a beast. And she was successful in her own right. And so is her husband, who's mega successful. So I got her in a video saying, if as a realtor, hi, I'm with Keller Williams, and I don't want to get in a video talk, but there's a thing called lower thirds where it comes down and describes who they are. It's just the title. And then she finally says, so if you're just looking for a good mover or you're a real estate agent looking to refer and make yourself look good, contact Greg at NetMove. And I looked at her, I almost cried. She goes, was I good? Yeah, you were good. Give me a hug. And then she took me out to the country club to eat and she paid. It was unbelievable. So that's called proof. And from her, I got more realtors than you can imagine because everybody knew who she was. So why don't we do things like that and then put that on social media? Put that in place. People go, gosh, well, she didn't make that up. It's just believable, right? Am I the only one that thinks like this? People buy from people they like and they trust. I don't know. I really
No, it
believe.
makes sense. I posted a post one time on my Facebook page, a customer review that she gave to us, and magically the customer was following us on social media already. So when she seen the post of the review that we posted, she just added her feedback to it, and I felt like that just sparked it along that, hey, we really did a great job.
Yeah,
Yep.
I see a lot of movers taking their phone. They'll take like their phone, they go like this. Hey, how do we do? You know, like on the job, and they do this. And I want to say, move it, turn it sideways, please. So you get 1920 by 1080, not with the bars. And that's okay. But if you mic them up after the move took place and make it in a professional setting, even their home, it's more powerful, it's more believable. And that's what you use on social media, because there's nothing like testimonials to say, hey, I moved with this guy and it went so well and blah blah blah. They just like, well, that person's not lying. You know, I'll tell one more, this is it. I did a testimonial of this fella and his wife who've been married for probably 60 years. I will never forget it. And maybe I'm just telling stories. I love it because it just works so well and it worked for me. But he was doing most of the talking. His wife was very quiet, demure, just like a church mouse. And he kept on talking how great the guys were. She looks over and says, and they were very polite. That's all she said. And he looks at her. I still brings a tear. And he says, very good point, honey. Very good. That's very, how do you want to say this? He idolized his wife and you could see it. So when they were done, he says, how did we do? I said, I don't even know what to say to you. You obviously love her to death. And that came through. That's what that video is about. She said one thing and he acknowledged her like she said the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I put that on, and people go, when people look at that, what do they think? Well, that's as real as you're going to get. And that's why people call. So,
Gotcha.
We got all these stories coming out of me. I'm done, I promise. I'm done.
All right, so the last question, guys. So what could movers be doing to increase their efficiency this off season?
Diverse,
Keep
do
going.
SEO and diversify your services.
Stop.
Like, I mean,
A lot of people stop, right? Say, no.
oh my God, there's so many, we're
Oh.
mostly talking residential, which I understand, but there are literally about 23 different. I mean, I was a mover. I think, Greg, you were a mover, right?
For 20, I don't know, 1993.
Right. There's, once again, I'll be talking about this at the Titan retreat, but office, commercial, FF&E, warehousing, logistics, we have a huge list. I mean, I was a mover. Origin, destination work, specialties. You need to be showing up in search for those. I'll give you a really good example. The largest
Your thing is just keep marketing. Stop. A lot of people stop.
Marketing, yeah. And
it's the worst thing.
Just, yeah, I mean, your point, do marketing. And in this case,
you'll go completely south.
Yeah. Like we just had a client call us, Beacons AMS. They're in Northern California. They're the largest Beacons agent. So they do a lot of, they want to get, well, just give you an example. Now there's less of these, but if you rank for it, so if you Google like Bay Area School Moving Company, they show up #1. So maybe they only get one call on that every month, but the last one gave them a $100,000 move and a new client with endless moves, right? So we know that, like to Greg's point, and they're movers. This is a big bucket, right? But people move once every 7 years, approximately, right? And if they remember you, great. And if you catch them, great. But the #1 thing you can do is diversify your offerings. There's huge amount of revenue out there that a lot of the movers that are in our sphere, they forget because they're just thinking, Gainesville Mover, Gainesville Moving Company. So I'm going to encourage you to think about all those different services. And if you show up for them, meaning you've done SEO, you have an opportunity to close those deals.
Yeah. It's basically, go ahead, Greg.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry. You're right. Just work on referrals. Do more clever things. If you have free time, do more clever stuff. How many times I hope somebody's listening. I'll pay $100 out of my pocket personally, send it to them. If I see a video of you getting up on your website and go, hey, hi, I'm Joe and I'm the moving company owner, I'm sending $100 because I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna be so happy. I know they'll make the money if they just do like simple things, but don't stop marketing. When things get slow, that's when you have to pick it up. So I did the opposite. You say what to do. Well, in the summer, I got real fussy on who I mailed to because I could afford to because we had enough calls coming in. And all of a sudden, fall came. Well, I'm going to lower that threshold down to 450,000, 400,000. And then in winter, I'm going to go down a little bit more back in the day, whatever those numbers are now, depending on where you live. But the point is, if you have a lot of calls coming in the summer, you don't need them because your trucks are full. Well, then you can relax a little bit. But then the fall and the winter comes. Oh, I got to get going again. Well, yeah, you do. You should have got going before that. Stop.
Agreed.
Stop
Yeah.
stopping.
Yeah.
You just signed your own ticket to death.
And be careful who you work with. Like, I think, I don't know Paul, but I'm guessing you brought him on because he's successful and produces results. You've got 3 people on this panel that we produce results and we can show it. And I think there's a lot of I've seen out there when we've looked at the results they produce that just aren't producing the results, so that you need to keep doing marketing, but you need to be doing effective marketing, and you should be able to see data from your provider that it's working. I'm sorry to say, but I see a lot of crap SEO. I just do. It just doesn't. It's not effective.
And some of them don't even give you reports. But the ultimate goal is lifetime value, people. Making sure that you're keeping that customer coming back. So yes, maybe you move them once every 7 years, but what else can you offer that customer? Can you offer them cleaning services, junk removal services, something that's
There you
repeatable?
Yeah.
Exactly.
What about yourself, Paul? Any takeaways that they can be doing?
Yeah, same thing like what Greg and Brian has mentioned. Never stop marketing. When you're in your high season, you might even think, oh, let's push up for more marketing. I would say do the opposite. Your trucks are already being filled up during summer, and if it's looking slow during winter, that's when you should be ramping up marketing.
Now,
Or
is it
actually,
some people get
yeah.
winters, unlike Florida, where they don't get a winter.
To get
You
what?
know, New York, you actually do get a winter where you got heavy snow. Would you recommend increased marketing at that point? Because it almost seems like a black hole in that sense.
If you think you won't be able to service during that time, then that's a different story. But if you think you can, if you think that the opportunities are still out there, 100% go for it. That's what I would say.
So, all right. So, if y'all do have any questions, definitely reach out to either Brian, Greg, or Paul, or myself. If you have any questions regarding marketing or so like that. Also, for you guys attending today and sticking around for this time, just reach out to me via email, and I'll get y'all signed up in the program. And you guys can basically get to learn all that you need to know about social media, SEO, postcards, organic marketing, etc., on what you guys can be utilizing to get your moving company going in the off season. All right, y'all. Thank you again. Thank you guys for attending.
Take care.